partner with drivers that live within our operating areas, a radius of our operating areas. Because of the money that drivers can earn, to me it's a no-brainer.
They log into an app-based operator, it's a surprise to them what they're going to pay.
To make drivers money, we need to keep customers happy. Drivers will partner with us if we make the money. We never want to overcharge a customer that ridiculous amount that we lose the customer. We grow in size, but we still believe that we've got to look after them communities, and those communities in essence look after us.
Booking comes into the system, the driver's location's found, and the system has dispatched that job to that driver based on their location.
It's with other companies, other local operators as well, not just Uber. Other local operators do this. They'll take on. I'm Jay, I'm the COO of Alpha. This is Lewis, our Growth and Implementations Manager. Today we're going to answer some frequently asked questions and have a discussion about the topics. A common question we get asked is non-local drivers working in the local area. So different plates from different boroughs. For example, obviously Wolverhampton's a big topic. We've got our own policies in place in this company. We only partner with drivers that live within our operating areas, a radius of our operating areas quite close. The fact that someone's got a Wolverhampton badge doesn't mean they're from Wolverhampton, or a Knowsley badge doesn't mean they have to live in Knowsley. So we obviously explain this to people at times that we only, for the local knowledge reasons, problems associated with that, people know where they're going. We only take drivers again in the radius of our operating areas or offices, if you like. Why all this come about is because obviously during COVID, when the backlog started with the local councils, people couldn't get a badge. So there was a job stop, and all drivers or prospective drivers couldn't get badged locally to be able to partner, become a taxi driver and partner with local operators or national operators and get a badge. There's been some routes where the likes of Wolverhampton were a bit more forward thinking. They expanded their region and basically let people from all over the country, if you like, get a badge with them. But obviously you can work wherever they want with the local operator as long as the local operator held the Wolverhampton licence. It's no difference in service though. This is the point. I mean, every Wolverhampton driver we've got, again, is from our local area. The difference is with other companies, other local operators as well, not just Uber. Other local operators do this. They'll take on any driver regardless of where they live. So that just affects service, in my opinion. I'm sure we're all in the same boat with that. Obviously drivers, if you're not from the local area or near to the local area, how do you know where you're going, what you're doing? It's the problems that arise in cars. I know we've got sat-navs, all the rest of it, but it's not enough. You need to have some sort of local knowledge. So in a nutshell, yes, there's people who have out-of-town plates on the vehicles, but for Alpha, they all are from our local areas. It's not the case for other operators though.
Obviously, Alpha is an ever-expanding business, and we have a lot of candidates from the public who want to become a driver. Now, we've got to utilise the fastest route at the time that we're given. At the time, the fastest route was Wolverhampton. Mm-hmm. However, you did make a very good point about all of them drivers living and residing in the local area.
Yeah, so no difference.
There's no difference now. You've obviously got a vehicle that's licensed Wolverhampton, but the driver does live locally in the area.
Mm-hmm. That's just, to me, that's just a different name on the plate, but the driver's a local driver. So obviously I get why people have that opinion or think that they're not from the local area because it says a different plate, it says Wolverhampton. But obviously when we explain it and people understand that.
Yeah, I think another thing as well is that the reason why we don't take drivers from outside the local area is the fact we can get a lot of complaints because they don't have that local knowledge of the area. Another big one as well is lost property. If, for example, the driver lived 50, 60, 70 miles away and a customer was to leave an item of property in that vehicle, now that could be an item of property that they desperately need, like a mobile phone for work or keys to the house. If that driver's 70 miles away, how are they meant to get the lost property back to the customer?
And that's the problem that our competitors must have, because I totally expect it. Well, I know it happens from other operators. They could have a driver who lives in Stoke working in Liverpool city centre on a Saturday night. Now, we would never allow that to happen with our policy, but again, there's problems with that. You've got no local knowledge. But again, yeah, if you left your passport or your phone in the car, how are you getting that back? Or when are you getting it back? I have heard it with drivers who partner with Uber as well, that see all sorts of plates in Liverpool, especially on a Saturday night, Bolton and everywhere else, because the local economy might not be as busy on a Saturday night or whatever. So they come to like a honeypot, a city. They might not go to Manchester, they might go to Liverpool, but they only work Liverpool at certain days, times. And it's like, okay, there's a demand there for people to have taxis, but obviously there's a lot of complaints that arise off the back of that, the low local knowledge or maybe just a poor attitude or whatever. One topic that raises its head now and again is that the system can be plagiarised and that we favourite certain drivers.
Obviously, the size of Alpha, we're a huge system. We have a very professional dispatch system that is fully automated. 99% of the system is automated to when the booking comes into the system, the driver's location's found and the system is dispatched that job to that driver based on their location. What I'd also mention as fact as well is that we have a lot of drivers on board and with Alpha because we get a lot of feedback off our existing drivers that we're a very professional system. That then brings new drivers onto the platform for that reason.
When you think about it, we do 100,000 more bookings a week. It's not possible to fiddle every job. Literally, jobs come in and out in split seconds. 100,000+ jobs a week. The background of the system, we don't even see them jobs that are in and out that quick. Obviously, the system's set up or with the algorithm and rules to send the jobs out the most efficient way to keep the customer waiting times down. We want to make drivers money. Why would we? We wouldn't grow to the size we've got by manipulating every single booking to give a friend £10 more. It's just not something we do. And that's why we've grown to the scale, the size we've gone. We've run the system efficiently and fairly from day one. And that's how we believe it should always be. There's local operators and there's app-based operators, international companies. So the difference with others is obviously we're a hybrid model, so we can do everything. We can do different booking sources, different payment types compared to some of the national operators. So obviously we've got a 24/7 man call centre. All the customers' booking needs. We've got 24/7 driver team with our network if there's any issues. We are a much more regional business than them. They tend to, some of the smaller operators might stick to immediate local areas, whereas obviously we've got that coverage. In terms of the app companies, we do a lot more and can do the same as what they do. Uber, is a big, massive competitor of ours locally. They are app-based. We've got an app, booking app. They use the same pot of drivers that partner with us to do work as well. So there's no difference in the drivers. It's very, very similar. There is some drawbacks of what they do compared to what we do. So obviously we charge differently to them. They have surge pricing. So we all know somebody who's in charge an absolute fortune in Uber and really have grievances about it. And I'm talking exponentially amounts, like 60 quid for the £10 journey. Obviously we don't do that. We do have enhanced rates, which entices drivers to work unsociable hours. So obviously Saturday night, yes, we're more expensive than we are on a Tuesday morning, but that's because demand's so much higher. But it's fixed at a set rate. Everyone knows what they're paying. Obviously the likes of Uber might charge 3 times the fare or whatever it is, and then the customer's really disgruntled. So we believe there's elasticity in pricing, but to entice the drivers to come out. But we never want to overcharge a customer that ridiculous amount that we'd lose the customer. And obviously that's the balance. We're trying to find the perfect balance. Look, we need to make drivers money. We need to keep customers happy. Drivers will partner with us if we make them money. So the more fares we can offer them, obviously the more money they make. So it feeds into everything as our ethos is, look, let's make drivers money. Equally, let's keep customers getting the journeys, but the two things sort of intertwine.
What I'd also explain about the point of earnings or takings are the way we charge our driver for the service. So obviously we've got our cap settle structure that allows the driver to maximise their takings. As we already know, a lot of other app-based operators just charge the rolling commission on every job that they do. So here at Alpha, we will cap the driver's takings once the driver's earned a certain fee, which will allow the driver to have no more commission on any further earnings.
Well, again, that's a great one for the full-time driver, because obviously the more jobs when you partner with Alpha and you cover, effectively the unit cost goes down, settles your weekly service fee for non-taxi people, obviously settles a taxi team. But in terms of the money that drivers can earn, to me it's a no-brainer to partner with Alpha if you're a full-timer anyway, because why would you pay, for example, on Uber 25% of every fare when with our structure you're in, even if you're in the same money, you're paying a lot out, so overall you're earning more money. It's a no-brainer really for me. I think, again, touching back as well on the local operators and the scale we discussed before, I just think we're a much more professional outfit and that's what's helped us grow. So we want to give people a top level of service because that gives customers back. Obviously, look, yes, we do have some complaints, we do have some issues. The scale of the bookings that we complete every week, over 100,000 journeys. If you've done 1%, it'd be 1,000 bookings where we have complaints, and we have nowhere near that amount, do we? So I think everybody knows people have issues in taxis now and again, a complaint about a driver or it was late or whatever. But if you think about the strike rate that we actually hit, we'd be like 99.99% in terms of how we operate and how successful we are at what we do in terms of keeping people happy, I think it's a good strike rate. If you look at other industries, I don't know, with restaurants, how many complaints do they get? It's going to be a lot more than a fraction of a percent.
I think another point that we haven't brought up, which is massive to the driver, is the communication. So obviously at Alpha here, we've got a fully trained driver support team, which allows us to answer any questions or any help that they need with either renewing the license, how to get a license, how to become a driver. We've got that face-to-face element, so the communication's a big thing, and it's a key thing.
I think obviously there's different profiles of drivers. Look, there's a vast age range of drivers, ladies, men, young drivers, old drivers, and some people need more assistance, and we're always there to help with that, aren't we, in the team, guys and ladies downstairs, help people every day, even with badge renewals and stuff sometimes where they don't really know what they're doing. So we're the one for all solution for everybody in terms of, look, we'll okay, someone who doesn't need much help, but they just crack on with it, if you like, that's fine. Other people need a lot more assistance, but we're there for that. You know, that's part of our ethos, I suppose, to help as many people. And again, the more money drivers make, the more drivers will partner with us.
Here at Alpha, we can queue our work, which allows the driver to go straight onto another booking or to accept another booking as soon as he or she's dropped off at the location.
Yeah, again, that is a good point, and I think it feeds into the whole tech side of, obviously, we always strive for the continuous improvement in the systems, and we can always improve, we accept that, and we can always make something slightly more efficient, but we are finger on the pulse with that all the time, aren't we?
The benefit of Alpha's price model against other app-based operators is that we have a variable pricing structure. So what I mean by that is, like, we have a fixed pricing structure every day at the same time every week. So when that customer phones up or books on the app for a taxi, they know exactly what they're going to be paying, or they'll have a rough idea of what they're going to be paying. Obviously, if they log into an app-based operator, it's a surprise to them what they're going to pay, you know, with all these surge prices. So they may go on another app-based operator's app and it could be 4 or 5 times the amount of the basic fare, whereas the local customer knows roughly what we charge at that time due to the pricing structure we put in place.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because obviously some of the international apps like Uber, their model totally is just charge whatever up to it, no ceiling, which is just like, as you said, a random amount. We're more like, okay, yes, we need to encourage drivers to work certain times, so we have to enhance the rates for those at those times to come out. Drivers can work as much or as little as they want when they want, so we've got to, look, everyone waits for the taxi on a Saturday night. How do we get more drivers to work a Saturday night? We have to enhance the rates slightly. So obviously compared to a Tuesday morning or any peak time, we enhance them up. More drivers come out to cover those, facilitate those bookings. So I think, yeah, our pricing is a lot fairer when people don't want to work unsociable hours. We need to get those customer journeys covered. However, what Uber doing, I just think is ridiculous in terms of how high they go. It's not fair on the customer. If people play it, it's beyond me why you do that.
Even though Alpha is now a huge traditional taxi operator, we still don't forget about our local charities.
That's right. Obviously, we do, compared to the international app companies and local companies, I believe we do a lot more work. Now, I'm not trying to compare here, because we do what we think's right or help where we can. All the Hay, all the local food banks, Zoe's Place, Megan Haley Foundation, they're just to name a few. Now, okay, we grow in size, but we still believe that we've got to look after them communities, and those communities, in essence, look after us. A lot of people in those communities use taxis. A lot of them support local businesses, and we try and give something back where we can. So yeah, I think as you grow and you scale in size, it's important not to forget where you come from and where your roots are, and you know, your bread and butter, if you like. We make money out the community as a business. The drivers make money off the journeys, off the customers in the local community. So let's try and help where we can. Is Alpha only operate in Liverpool?
Well, that's incorrect. We now operate all across Merseyside, including the Wirral. We also operate across Halton and West Lancashire. Now, obviously, to cover such a huge operating area, we have multiple offices across the region. We've got an office in Southport, Ormskirk, Kirkby. Our head office here in Chilwell Five Ways. We've got an office in Widnes, and we've also got 2 offices on the Wirral, one being in Liskeard Village and the other being in Bebington.
And obviously, a lot of this growth has happened over the last 3, 4, 5 years. Obviously, been substantial, but more so the increase in bases, if you like, officers has been in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Done quite a few acquisitions.
Yeah, a lot of acquisitions, which has obviously brought us a lot bigger. With that speed of growth, a lot of customers don't realise that we've grown. We've gone into more areas in a short amount of time.
That's obviously a benefit for customers if you think about it as well, which we always advertise for the drivers as well. You see less dead mileage, Because obviously now if a passenger takes a fare from Southport to the city centre, they can obviously use the same company back. So we're obviously like a large regional business that can facilitate all the customers' needs around the region, but also for drivers, they can just less their mileage, because if they get a job from A to C, they're getting a job from C to D to E, wherever.
Common thing that drivers ask when they do start with Alpha is, I live in Southport, what if I get a job to the city centre? Do I have to drive back without a job? Well, obviously now you've got a bigger chance of getting work in the city centre because Alpha do cover that area.
Yeah, of course. That's a good place to end it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with another video.